We got to start getting to that space. And here's the space, right? Here's the space, right? Here's the space, right? Right? You got health sciences, right? Health is really a measure of function, right? How well your body functions. When you're dealing with spirit, spirit is the world of energy, right? Spirit is the world of energy, and we break that down to different forces, right? So health sciences talks about how well the body is functioning, right? Health sciences versus spirit or spirituality, just the ituality, just imagine the ituality part is there. Spirituality, the uality. Let me see if I can squeeze it into uality, right? Yeah. Right? The spirituality, right? That is the world of energy, right? That is the world of energy, right? And we break energy down to particular forces, right? So the way modern science does spirituality, right? Because people are now coming slowly but surely to the conclusion that modern science is a religion in and of itself. They still behind the learning curve. They're about to get there though. They just coming slower. They coming slower. We just ahead of the learning curve. We way ahead of the learning curve. We ahead of the learning curve. So right now it has like a negative connotation to it. It's disrespectful when you say, science is a religion, right? It's disrespectful. The reason why science is becoming a religion is not because it's corrupt. There's corruption everywhere. There's corruption in spirituality. There's corruption in the church, in the mosque, in the synagogue, in the anywhere where you have, there's corruptions everywhere. But the reason why science is becoming more and more and more like a religion is because people are getting more transparency with science. You see, science benefited for a long time the same way the church did. Nobody was allowed to read the Bible. Nobody was allowed to read the books. Nobody was allowed to do the knowledge on the history. So it just go off what I say. Blind following the blind, right? Or the one-eyed man is king in the land of the blind kind of thing, right? Science kind of benefited that way. You had the great masses of people, illiterate and ignorant, and you got these enlightened folks that's just, this is what it is. Notice that the two phrases Yahweh Tesvaot and Yahweh Elohim are synonyms. One using a feminine plural word, meaning forces. The other a masculine plural word, meaning powers. Also note that Yahweh is not the Tesvaot, but a part of it. Yahweh is a part of the forces, hence the usual translation of Lord of Hosts. In the same manner, Yahweh is not the Elohim, but a part of it, a part of the powers. But notice that while the translators will consistently use Lord of Hosts for Yahweh Tesvaot, they never use Lord of Powers for the phrase Yahweh Elohim. You will never ever see that. You're never going to see that. What I just showed you, you're never going to see that anywhere for public consumption, but I guess here, because we went to the rabbis, we went to the Hebrew websites, we went to the Blue Letter Bible, which is like the new authority of all authority for Christians and Israelites and Catholics. But if we're talking about the heavenly bodies and the earthly forces, no one number symbolizes that more than this one does. This should make it plain for you, like super plain, right? Because this number represents that whole unification. If there's a unification, this might be it right here. This number right here might be the grand unification theory of all forces right here. 7.365, right? Because we have what? We have the days in a week and we have the days in a year, right? But this is your blood pH. This is your blood pH. Your blood pH just so happens to be when you're healthy, when your blood is healthy, 7.365. That's what a healthy pH is supposed to be. Now, you could be a little bit under that, you could be a little bit over that. But you get too high over that and you're going into alkalosis. You go too high or too far under that, you're going into acidosis. So this is the perfect space for homeostasis right here. This is the perfect pH, 7.365. This is what ma'at looks like in your blood. 7 is neutral. 7 is neutral. 7 is neutral, right? Just above 7 means that it's very slightly into the alkaline space. But technically, you don't really get into the alkaline space till you get from 8 until 14, right? On a pH scale, from 8 to 14 is considered alkaline. From 1 to 6 is considered acid. 7, neutral. Ma'at, Switzerland, right? Balance. 7.365 is where your blood is supposed to be. Just so happens that there's 7 days in a week and 365 days in a year. Heavenly bodies exerting the forces, right? Heavenly bodies, the sun and the other planets, mind you, they're all a part of why we have 7 days in a week and 365 days in a year. They're all a part of that, right? The sun is the major conductor to the orchestra, but all of the heavenly bodies are playing a role in this, right? But it just so happens to be your blood pH. Now, what is your blood pH consisting of internally? Well, most people, because we listen to either Dr. Sebi or another health guru, we believe that food is the thing that's most impinging, the strongest determining factor of your blood pH. It is not. It is not. It's not food. The strongest determining factor of your blood pH is gas. This is the strongest determining factor. The primary gases, right? Oxygen, CO2, carbon dioxide, and then we're going to throw nitrogen up in there. Right? There ain't no nitrogen in it. Yes, it is. You got nitric oxide, right? These are the biggest players when it comes to your pH. Oxygen, carbon dioxide, and nitric oxide. And then behind these guys is still not food. Behind these guys is still not food. Behind these guys is muscle activity. This is number one. And then number two is going to be muscle activity. Because muscle activity is going to determine food. So muscle activity is going to be higher on the food, up the food chain than food. So it's going to be gases and then it's muscle. And these two are more primarily related. The muscle activity is determining the food activity. In a healthy body. In an unhealthy body, the food activity determines the muscle activity, and that's where disease comes in. Your environment right here, where you live at, in a place where you got more cars than trees and grass, you got more greens than you got more greenhouse emissions than actual greens, right? The number 26 tells us how many protons, how many neutrons, how many electrons there are associated with iron, right? It's the density of subatomic particles and their forces that makes up iron. So that's where the number 26 is. It's not an arbitrary number. They didn't just, like throw out the periodic table, all of the elements on the table, and then they just start doing like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's not how it goes. It's the forces and the powers associated with each atom that distinguishes its atomic number, its weight, etc., etc., etc. Right? Notice that even atoms have human-like qualities, right? Okay. Now, could we be alive without this? No, because this is the most important thing in your blood. So, no atom, right? No iron, then we don't get to have this. the 7.365. Because the iron has magnetic force, and the magnetic force is the thing stabilizing the gases in the blood. The magnetic force is stabilizing the gases in your blood, right? What's special about the number 4 and blood? So it's like, okay, the number 4 is repeating, associated with the word blood. What is it saying, right? Right off the bat, how many blood types are there? 4. Your major blood types, right? 4. A, B, O. 4 blood types. Like, oh, so it might be something. Yeah, it might be something in there, right? It might be something in there. So then you could take it another step further, right? Take it another step further. What do we do? What's the movement about? Right? What's the movement about? Diabetes. Well, guess what? Guess what? Blood sugar. How many grams of glucose is supposed to be circulating in your body in a healthy person? 4. I'm like, oh, that's kind of epic. That 4 is cooking. Yeah, that number 4 tell me the whole story. That 4 is cooking. Hold up. How many iron atoms goes? How many iron atoms can each blood cell hold? 4. I'm like, yo, my mind is blown, right? And because it can hold 4 iron atoms, it can hold 4 oxygen molecules. 4. Like, yo, it's a lot of jewels in there. It's a lot of jewels in there. See? That's what I'm saying. Well, Akhenaten and them created chemistry and the language